Good morning, friends. Welcome to LoveTalk Network. I'm Cathy Endebrock, and I am in studio today with my amazing co-host, Coach Kerri Brinkoeter. It's great to be with you today. Coach Kerri, how are you doing this morning?
Wow. Well, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's in November. So for me, that means basketball season, not only for my son Logan with his career at LaTurno University, but I'm still coaching basketball as well. And so it's just a great time of year and looking forward to the Thanksgiving holidays to hug my kids and get some sit down conversation with them as well. So it's a great time of year. How are you, Kath?
I am doing well. I love that you mentioned Thanksgiving. I think that November is such an incredible time just to be able to be thankful. And I think that, scripture calls us to be thankful. God tells us to be thankful during the challenging times, the hard times, the joyful times. And I think the reason that we are able to be thankful is we know He is on the throne and He is using all of these crazy events, all of these things in our lives, all of these people, all of these unexpected and expected things that come our way. He uses them for our good according to His purpose and His will. And we know that His plan is going to hold true until the end. And so I'm just so thankful for that. And I want to talk to our friends who have veterans in their family.
Yes.
Maybe they have people who are currently serving or who have served. Well, Veterans Day is this week, November 11th. And so we have a major general in the house with us today on today's program to talk about Veterans Day. We're going to talk about some of the misconceptions of veterans. What is the state of our veterans and how can we make our veterans healthy again? And so we're going to be talking about all things veterans and Veterans Day. And for our friends who don't know the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day, Kerri, do you know the difference?
I do. I was in the Coast Guard. We're not honoring, where's your Coast Guard sign? So I have never made that mistake again. So I'm excited about doing that with my folks as well. It's always so much fun, and it's just a great way to honor our people who have given so much to our country. And I'm so delighted to be interviewing General Dees today.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I met General Dees earlier this summer at a special event in Colorado Springs, and he was just such an amazing man of God, an incredible leader. And so he's just has so much to share with us today. And he's working with JF, not JFK,
No,
JF,
RFK.
RFK. Why do I do that? RFK on a program, Make Our Veterans Healthy Again, making our veterans healthy again. So he's going to tell us a fair bit about that program. Well, it is November 11th is Veterans Day. And for those of us who wonder, so is it like the third Thursday of the month or how does this work? Like Thanksgiving Day is on a specific day. And so the date shifts, but Veterans Day is always on November 11th. And that is because it is celebrating the anniversary of the end of World War I. And so we are going back to World War I. And I think I don't know that we have many World War I veterans still living. I think they are all, we have World War II veterans. I think we have a few. We have a handful of World War II veterans still living, but it's amazing how many wars these brave men and women have stepped into. And it's good for us to honor them. And we've learned earlier, and some of our programs, Coach Kerri, about using our voice for good. And so, friends, I would just encourage you on November 11th, go to your social media, share a scripture thanking these individuals, make a call thanking these individuals. If you have time and you like to write a little card to someone in your family, or maybe even to the local veterans.
The
God,
VFW.
there you go. And drop them off. Bring some cookies.
Yeah. Or there's the veterans hospitals as well, where you could go and just drop off some notes of thank you to veterans. In Georgetown, here in Central Texas, in Georgetown, over by our rec center, our recreation center, we have a giant field. And in the month of November, they have what's called the Field of Honor. And there are hundreds of flags that are set out in this field. It's very moving. I mean, even just driving your car by it, there is no way that you cannot be moved by seeing these hundreds of American flags that are set out, and people will use their flag to honor or memorialize someone that has served our country. It's just a beautiful, beautiful sight.
Coach Kerri, do you have anyone in your family who is currently serving here or who has served?
Not currently serving, but this is a fun fact. My mom's dad, my grandpa, served in the Navy, and they called him Big Tex because he was from Texas, and he was a tall man, and he was in World War II.
Okay.
He's a World War II veteran. So he passed when I was very young. And so I did not get a chance to learn very much about his experience. But I'm so proud. I'm so proud to have that in our family. And my mom had some cousins that were in Vietnam, proudly serving our country. So what about you, Cathy?
I have my youngest brother. He is a Marine veteran, so he served, and so his son, my nephew, also my godson, he's currently serving. So
Nice.
he is actually in Georgia right now with his beautiful wife, doing a lot of defense stuff with all the drones and all like that.
Is
So
he a Marine as well?
pardon?
Is he a Marine as well?
He's a Marine. No, yeah, nope. I think he's Army. I
Okay.
think, gosh, he will absolutely kill me. I think he's Army. Yeah, that's right. My baby brother's Marines, but my godson is Army. So, but anyway, just love our services. And it's interesting because the founder of Love Talk, her husband, Van Davison. Van, I know you're listening. Just a wonderful shout out and a huge thank you to you this Veterans Day for serving. He is also a military veteran from the Navy.
That's right. That's right. Well, friends, I would love to introduce you to our guest that you are going to hear in the next segment, Major General Robert Dees. He's the president of the National Center for Healthy Veterans. His friends call him Bob. He served for 31 years in the U.S. Army in a wide variety of command and staff positions. He's a graduate of several military schools, including West Point and the Royal College of Defense Studies in London. He's authored and taught management science topics in the Department of Engineering at West Point, as well as multiple resilience courses at Liberty University. Following his military retirement in 2003, Bob served as a Microsoft Corporation executive. In the 2016 presidential cycle, Bob served as National Security Advisor and campaign chairman for the amazing Dr. Ben Carson. Bob and his wife Kathleen have been married for over 5 decades, and together they have 3 children and 9 grandchildren. And they together are so grateful for the privilege of serving God, their nation, and others during this time. I'm Cathy. I couldn't be more excited about this interview, and I can't wait.
I'm so looking forward to it. He also teaches some resilience courses and has written an entire program about being resilient. And we can give information about that later on in the program. One of his key scriptures that he uses is this. It's from Zechariah 4, 6. And it says, "Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord Almighty." Friends, how many of us need to hear that today? That it's not by our own power, it's not by our own might, but it is by God's Spirit that He will accomplish what He sets out to accomplish. Well, friends, we're going to go to a break and hear from our amazing sponsors who keep Love Talk on the air every single week. We are so appreciative to them, and we will be right back with you. Stay with us for our interview with Major General Dees. Welcome back, friends, to Love Talk Network. I'm Cathy Endebrock in studio with Coach Kerri, Brinkoeter, and our incredible guest, General Major Dees. It is great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us on Love Talk Network today.
Great to be with you, Cathy and Kerri. It's good to be with you.
Well, we have a question for you that we like to ask our first-time guests, and that is this: how did you come to know that Jesus loves you personally?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I've spent some time in Kenya, and they ask the same question, but they ask it in 3 parts. And you sort of need to say, "I'm Bob," and then you say, "I'm the husband of one wife," and so my one wife is Kathleen of 52 years. So we're grateful for that. just had an anniversary. And then thirdly, and I love Jesus, is what they really want to know. And that's a fair question. I came to Jesus through my mother, grandmother, and a loving Sunday school teacher. I was 12 years old. I was in Amarillo, Texas. But like some, perhaps, I wandered as a teenager. And when I got to West Point, it was a teachable moment. They took away my hair. They took away my Pontiac. How dare they? And then they said, I'm a plebe, the scum of the earth, a doulos, a servant. And that was a teachable moment. And I recognized if I dug down real deep, I might come up empty-handed. And God used that time to really call me back to himself. And then he provided a wonderful mentor who had gone to the same high school in Houston, Texas, 10 years prior to me. And he noticed my name on the roster. He was a math instructor. And he and his wife wrapped arms around me. They fed me a lot of enchilada dinners. They mentored me and my girlfriend of the time, who's now Kathleen, of my wife. And so they gave us the best gift anybody could ever give us, was just a passion and a knowledge of God, God's word. The person of Jesus became personal in line with your question. And so we launched off into the military, sort of feeling like we were missionaries sent by God to just be merchants of hope across the military culture. And as it turned out, we served all around the world.
Well, you have definitely served all around the world for 31 years. That's quite a military career. So you have seen a lot with veterans and how things have changed and some of the things that have stayed the same. As we celebrate Veterans Day this November 11th, General Dees, what do you see as the top concerns with our veteran population right now, and how has it changed, or has it changed over the years?
Right. Well, a couple of things. First, the national support has changed in a positive way. You know, you hear all the stories after Vietnam and things. That was, frankly, we should not treat anybody, to include our veterans, the way they were treated. But that has improved. The challenge is that our veterans they're a microcosm of society at large. So the mental health issues in our veteran population have perhaps grown larger.
Mm-hmm.
The foundations of our veterans of today, adverse childhood experiences, lack of fathers in the family, lack of family solidarity, all of those contribute to what we are now seeing in our veterans of today. So those are significant challenges. We as an organization, and we can talk about that later, really have to take all that into account. And then there's a greater, although the Vietnam generation had a lot of drug use in Vietnam and things, there's a lot of drug use in America. And some of it's legal drugs, some of it's illegal drugs. We basically, as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says, are over-medicated. And we have some veterans that arrive with grocery bags from the Veterans Administration with 20 different meds in there. Mm-hmm. And we have to sort that out, because sometimes they're not able to do that or do it right. And so the mental health challenges, the behavioral challenges are significant. Americans today know enough to say thank you for your service. But on Veterans Day, we need to remember it takes some knowledge to intentionally help our veterans with some of these challenges.
Mm-hmm. You know, I appreciate your words, General Dees. I work with a population of people where I serve quite a few veterans. Mm-hmm. And I see many of these challenges in this population. Just the red tape that they have to go through to get medical care is sometimes very disheartening. Gosh, I love my veterans. They are amazing, amazing people. It was such a big heart, and so I'm so grateful that you're joining us for this Veterans Day program. You are the president of the National Center for Healthy Veterans. First of all, tell us, what is the National Center for Healthy Veterans, and how does this organization step into this unique battle that we really need to fight on our veterans' behalf?
Right. Well, the National Center for Healthy Veterans, I would say, is a unique integration of proven best practices. We are pervasively faith-based, whether it's during our work therapy to provide purpose and self-esteem and work in teams, or it's our faith-based trauma recovery and life skills programs, or it's our living in community to defeat isolation, one of the primary causes of veteran suicide, or if it's the career preparation, or if it's some of our recovery sustainability programs related to maintaining sobriety. All of those are totally faith-based. And so if I were to say, what's the secret sauce? Jesus is the secret sauce of what we do. A lot of people pray over the property, our veterans, and over time. And that's powerful because when you enter the property, many, even if they don't know Christ or not Christ followers, they know something's different. And many of the folks newly arrived just talk about the pervasive love talk, about the love that they experience. If I may tell you a brief story to put some of our mission in context.
Yes.
I was walking the Vietnam Wall with a lady that referred to herself as a Vietnam widow. And we got down to the T's, and she started running her hand in circle. John Thompson. And then she said, "Where is he?" And I was a little curious. And she said, "Oh, John Thompson didn't die in Vietnam, but he came home with an expiration date. And he had taken his life after Vietnam." And immediately I saw that Vietnam Wall, 58,000 plus names on it, was the tip of the iceberg. That represents every conflict in American history, because underneath that, we know what icebergs look like. There's much greater, some that have taken their lives, yes, but also fractured families, broken hearts, minds, souls. And many of those folks are frozen there. And so the people that are under the waterline, so to speak, are truly at crisis. I call that the red zone. And the reality is that not a lot of veteran organizations truly roll up their sleeves and help people in the red zone. They may not have the expertise, they may not have the commitment to that, because it is not for the weak or faint-hearted, but is very important work to help that at-risk veteran demographic. And so we say we're a crock pot in a microwave society. We are a 9-month program, residential, and that's one of our distinctives: faith-based, residential. This longevity of the program to allow for them to do a true life reset. We say our intellectual property is how do we rewire the brain, reshape the heart, restore the soul.
Wow, I love that. And so this is all in line with your mission of returning healthy veterans to America. So a 9-month program, that is quite a program. And I love that, you identified this red zone. You identified an issue within America right now, that isolation is one of the primary causes of veteran suicide. And when you get them into this 9-month program, you are working with their mind and with their heart. I'm guessing a lot of times with their physical health. Can you talk to us a little bit about this community that you are creating, how it is a critical element of the center's initiative, and how you incorporate community into everything within your mission?
Right. Well, there's nothing worse than hurting alone. And so we bring people into community. We say, if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so we have veterans in cohorts, and it becomes a very cohesive element. And they go through their curriculum as a cohort. They play together, work together, cry together, laugh together, and they are really bonded. And so that community is very important. We fashioned our community structure after Community First in Austin, Texas, which is one of the largest tiny home communities in the world. And then we also have other techniques we've learned. For instance, the internet is such a big thing these days. We give them better internet access in the community center, where they can do it in a healthy environment, and then they're in community versus being private in their rooms. And in terms of community center, that's where they have all their meals together. That's where they do classes together. That's where we have a fitness center together in the community center. And so all of that is what we call Patriot Life. And we have peer mentors that do life 24 hours a day with our veterans, our patriots.
Wow.
And then we also have program experts that lead the core curriculum, which are resilience for 12 weeks, reboot, which is a trauma recovery program for 12 weeks, and then something at the last 12 weeks, jobs for life. So all of this leads to this holistic integration. I have found that there's no silver bullets. What helps somebody doesn't help another person. And many people, in fact, a call I have coming up next is to put together an experimental program for a technology somebody's recommending to us. We've got a lot of recommended technologies, and so we're very sensitive to the fact that some are very helpful, some may be snake oil, and we need empirical methods to separate the wheat from the chaff. And it's great that people are sending technology our way for us to experiment and help veterans. So there's a lot of help coming. We have an army of 700 volunteers.
Wow.
Tomorrow we'll have a volunteer Saturday, and on a given Saturday, we'll have 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100 volunteers. And we break into work crews all around the farm. And then during the week, there's a lot of volunteers that come. Last night, we had a bonfire. We had probably 50 people at our bonfire last night. Really a wonderful moon and fire in God's creation with horses around us and things. So that's pretty cool. And all of that's aimed at community.
General Dees, how does a veteran begin to get involved in your program? How does that process work?
Right. Sometimes it's just the draw of coming together to be with other veterans around a bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's things like the Afghanistan withdrawal, which impacted people so much, created moral injury that they wanted to come and be with other veterans. Sometimes these veterans that I talk about in the red zone don't want to be found. So it's an anxious mother, or it's a veteran that's been playing video games in the basement for 5 years, or it's somebody that's under a bridge, or somebody that's just coming out of incarceration. There's a lot of different areas that we go through that we just find different referral sources. People need to go to our website. They can determine healthyveterans.org. There's a button there that says refer a veteran. And so they can do that. We also have a new partnership with Tunnel to Towers. That's exciting because we've had a number of Tunnel to Towers people come in over the last few weeks. Yesterday, we put 4 new veterans in houses. We do a housewarming, wrap a quilt around them, and give them goodies and all that. And then the day before, we had 9 graduations, 5 graduating from a resilience course and 3 graduating from the reboot course. And now they move on to their next trimester. So it's pretty exciting to see all this happening.
Golly, what an amazing organization. This is awesome. Tell us about this word resilience. You have not only taught classes at West Point and at Liberty University on resilience, you're an author, and now you have a whole trimester of work here on resilience. I love this word. In the coaching world, you want kids that are resilient. So how did this come about? And tell us a little bit about this section of your program.
Oh, sure. Well, regarding your comment, I have a website for resilience, resiliencegodstyle.com. And on that website, there's a blog. And the 2 most powerful blogs, both most popular, the first one is Raising Children Who Bounce. So to your point. And then the second one is Resilient Aging. Those are the bookends of life. And I say that resilience is a critical life skill from cradle to grave. It's very, very important. Resilience can be defined in many ways. I guess in my books, I put a greater emphasis than you find in the normal literature on prevention. The ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. How do we get upstream? How do we set the conditions before trauma occurs so that we have the right reflexes, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, relational reflexes to respond best to trauma? Tournier, the Swiss theologian, said, "We fall the way we lean." Okay, so the point is, let's be leaning in the right direction, so that when something happens to us, in John 16:33, Jesus said, "In the world we will have tribulation." So we need to recognize it's going to happen to us sooner or later. And it's all theoretical until it happens to us.
Right.
And then it's raw and real and visceral. And that's when we hope that we have prepared properly. So there's a resilience life cycle in this thing. It says, how do we prepare for the storms of life? How do we navigate the storms of life? How do we bounce back from the storms of life? Looking in the rearview mirror, being introspective. And I can dive into this if you'd like. Looking forward through the windshield to regain vital optimism, and then revalidate your call and comfort others with that which you've been comforted. And then there's a feedback loop, because guess what? Hurricane season comes around again and again.
Wow, I love that. What are you leaning on? It's going to determine your resilience. I just love that. Are you leaning on Jesus today? Are you leaning on the truth of God's word? I saw this speaker this last weekend. She said, "Are you more willing to believe hell than you are willing to believe scripture?" So what are we leaning on in our lives and with our thoughts and with our hearts? And you are addressing all of that. I love how you build that into the program. You mentioned the homeless, that sometimes you find your veterans from the homeless. You mentioned Community First Village right here in Austin, Texas. Alan Graham, we actually had him on the program. I understand he's also a good friend of yours.
That's right.
For
He is wow. I love just how real he is. He's so down to earth, and he just loves people right where they are. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a special friend. Yeah.
So, General Dees, one of the things that I love about Alan is not only does he rescue those around him, but then and brings them into community. He trains other states on how to do the same. Now, you have an incredible program, 9 months to birth a new life, a new mind, and get to make our veterans healthy again. For those individuals who are listening to today's program and they say, I want to do something in our state, or I want to improve the program that we have in our state, do you bring those individuals in and help train them?
Sure, we do. First of all, we presently have folks from 15 different states that are here going through the curriculum, veterans. But I spend a lot of time in Texas, a lot of time in Florida, just was in Oklahoma, a few other places. We have our first spinoff it's Bluegrass Veterans Ranch in Somerset, Kentucky.
Nice.
They came here sort of like people go to Alan's place. They came here about 3 years ago. We mentored them, told them the pitfalls and so forth and how to navigate. And they cut their ribbon right before Christmas. And so there's a wonderful lady there, Virginia Dial. They have a great outreach, Bluegrass Veterans Ranch. And they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're just a few laps behind the track. Alan has been in business in ministry over 20 plus years. We're just coming to our 5th anniversary. So we're a young organization, but gratefully and surprisingly, we already have these spinoffs that are happening. There's a group coming in from Waxahachie, if I can say it right, Texas.
Right.
And they're coming in a private jet to look at what we're doing because they want to do the same thing there. So yes, that's our model. I've appreciated what Alan and his group have done over the years, training others. But we also, in our master plan, have something called a Healthy Veterans Lodge. And one wing of that lodge is a conference center. And that conference center is for the purpose of exporting best practices and helping people get their spinoffs. I firmly believe, because of what I've discussed about the veteran demographic, and we need more people to help with red zone healing, I think we need a platform like ours in every state of the union. And in fact, I've made that recommendation that's working its way to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For not just make America healthy again, but make America's veterans healthy again. And this is one way we can do that.
I love that. Can you when you say that while your Healthy Veteran Initiative will help veterans, that the real winner is America. Can you give words to that?
Oh, of course. Well, We start with a very positive premise that our veterans are an untapped national treasure. You consider our veterans and you look at their competencies. They are trained to a higher level of proficiency than most industries. You look at their commitment. They've saluted the flag and offered to give their life for all of us. You look at their character, like the Army, for instance, their core values are honor, duty, loyalty, courage, integrity, respect for others. And so they're selected for their character, they're indoctrinated further. And what employer, what elementary or high school, what sports team would not want a veteran to in fact help them and to bestow all those attributes that don't change once they take off their military uniform. So that's what I mean when I say America needs our veterans now more than ever before. And when we put healthy veterans back out on the street, it's good for them, but it's also good for America.
I love the thought that our veterans could be key to getting our educational system completely straightened out.
Yeah, exactly.
General Dees, I so appreciate how you talk about the mental health of our veterans, because when you're in the military, you have a team around you all the time. You have people around you all the time. You're in community, and then it's like being on a sports team. And then whenever that experience ends, you go into the real world and you're expected to figure it out when you don't have that community around you. So you are offering this as ways to not only build your mental fortitude, your spiritual life, and how to function in society, potentially after you've had a lot of trauma. And I guess I didn't really realize this to full extent until one of my fighters, the Vietnam veteran, and he was talking about how he was just so scarred. And we offer a program here in Austin called the Honor Flight Austin. I don't know if you've heard that. And where they take veterans to Washington, D.C. As a special trip and let them go to the walls. And he didn't want to go. He resisted for a long time. And then he finally went, General Dees. He finally went, and he came back changed. He came back feeling appreciated. He came back a little bit healed.
Yeah, right.
And that is what you are offering with your program, is a chance to heal and to move forward. Yeah. I love this. How did you get involved with this, General Dees?
Well, it's interesting. I went as a young lieutenant into the 101st Airborne. Okay. This is way back. This is in 1973 when I hit my first unit after Ranger School, Airborne, infantry, all that stuff. I'd been there 3 weeks, and it's the night before Easter. And I get a call to go to Sergeant Smitty's house trailer. I go, and Sergeant Smitty had taken his life in the back room. And then after the first responders left, I'm there with the young widow. And I say, how can I help? And she has her 3-year-old daughter at her side. And she said, well, we hit Easter eggs today. Would you come back in the morning and let's gather Easter eggs and give my daughter a normal Easter? Wow. So I did. Tragic, life-changing for them, obviously, but also tough medicine for me as a young leader. And then in my military experience, I saw more of that. And then after I retired, I had to do some investigation of 2 3-star officers who had taken their lives. And I learned that suicide doesn't know rank on the shoulder, doesn't know how many forks you eat with. It's really a pervasive challenge. And so I worked suicide, and I also provided the Army with some suggestions about how to change the suicide dynamics that were just peaking at that time, higher than in recorded history. And I looked at the causalities, and then I took the elements of our program that we have today, really map against the causalities of suicide then and now. The community to defeat isolation, the dignified work to provide purpose and self-esteem and meaning and dignity, the trauma recovery and life skills programs, the career preparation to ensure professional success. All of that was not just somebody's imagination. That was directly tied to the causative factors of suicide. And then over the years, God has just allowed me to connect more and more dots I have failed at retirement many times. And so all of those experiences have converged to some, best practices and wisdom regarding how we help veterans today.
Mm. I think about, who we have leading us and who you say we talked earlier about what are we leaning on. I think a lot of times we look at the leaders that we have and the difference that they make in our lives. And you, General Dees, were featured as one of the 30 master leaders in America. And does it matter for our veterans what leaders are in political office, either as mayors, governors, or in the White House? Or does it only matter the leaders that they surround themselves with? What is your view on this?
Right. Well, the reality is that leadership makes a difference. And I think godly leadership makes a huge difference. And so it's very important for us, whether it's in the White House or all the way down to local levels. It's very important for us to have godly leadership. I wrote a book called Resilient. Well, that's just for you too, because I'm empathizing. So I wrote a book called Resilient Leaders, and in that book, it's interesting that the verse Psalm 78:72 that it says David shepherded them according to the skill of his hands and the integrity of his heart. And so in that book, I define resilient leadership as selfless service over time from a platform of character and competence. And I was getting ready to put the red ribbon on that book, and I said, something's missing. And then God prompted me to sort of ask, okay, what's the bridge between character and competence? What's the bridge between our deeply held core values and the nitty gritty, messy execution on the ground, in the dirt, so to speak? And God, after some prayer and reflection, revealed the bridge is wisdom. And that's my favorite chapter in that book because wise leaders are very important. And in that wisdom chapter, I talk about how do leaders wait, which is an art for leaders to wait. How do leaders respond to crisis, lead in extremis? There's all sorts of wisdom that leaders need to have. And over my career, I learned that the verse that says, he who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. God exposed me to many things as a youngster that were searing lessons, perhaps, but over time became wisdom that allowed me to deal with much bigger issues on bigger stages. And God had prepared me to do that. And so that's what he does with all of us as leaders. If we lean into him and don't rely upon our own understanding, but lean on him, and he will direct our paths.
Wow. Well, General Dees, we, as y'all's timers have told us, we are out. Well, I love what you are doing with our veteran community, General Dees. Thank you so much, not only for your service, but thank you for continuing to pour into the lives of those who have served our country so well. Tell us your website one more time before we go to break.
Oh, sure. Well, come visit us at healthyveterans.org. That's where you can refer veterans. That's where you can send beans and bullets our way. And we just appreciate all the support of veterans that people would offer.
Wonderful. Well, friends, when we return to LoveTalk Network, Cathy and I will wrap up our program. We're wrapping up our time with General Dees today. Thank you so much, General Dees. And listening friends, we have one more segment. Cathy and I will wrap this up, give you the highlights, and point you back to the website. We'll return to LoveTalk Network right after this. Hello, friends, and welcome back to LoveTalk Network. Holy cow, Cathy Endebrock. General Dees, what an amazing man. He not only gave 31 years of his life in the U.S. Army, but now he retired in 2003. Here we are 20 years later and 22 years later, and he is still serving our veterans. He said he's failed at retirement. Thank goodness he's failed at retirement.
Yes.
He is offering programs and services for veterans to, number one, get them off the street. Number two, help them learn a lifestyle that can be so that they can be a productive citizen, because the mental health in our veterans community is in crisis. It is in crisis. And he's providing an opportunity to help our veterans navigate being in crisis and navigate it through a faith-based organization.
Yeah. I mean, basically rebuilding over 9 months. So, I mean, I just think I love 9 months because 9 months is how long it takes to build a baby from nothing. And, I think sometimes our veterans, they have just gone through trauma. They have been isolated and they need to get rebuilt. They get, I love the that General Dees talked about, not just working on their mind, but working on their heart, not just working on their heart, but working on their relationships and their emotions, the psychology of it all, and then even physical health. He said a number of the veterans will come with a bag full of medication that they're on. And so I just love that they take an entire approach to the veterans. They don't try to band-aid anything, but they really dig in and address everything that is going on. And he also talked so much about relationship, community, and gratefulness, that just being receiving that gratefulness, that thankfulness means so much. And so I think this Veterans Day, November 11th, is a great opportunity for us to pour into our veterans, whether it is a social media post saying thank you, that's post that they can see to show your appreciation, that phone call that we can make, thanking them for their service and recognizing how difficult that was. Going and bringing a thing of cookies to your local VA. I mean, what a wonderful thing. So many ways that we can recognize our veterans this November 11th.
Absolutely. So very important. Let me look at my notes here. As I brought that across our camera, YouTube friends, Resilience God Style. Okay. So he has a website called resiliencegodstyle.com. And there you can go and find resources. Raising children who bounce. Cathy, this is so needed. One of the main, I guess, indicators of success is grit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think grit and resilience are very, very similar. Knowing how to navigate the tough times when they come. And he said, what do you lean on? Because when the tough times come, we all face them. And when we start to fall, where are we going to fall? And where are we going to lean? Are we going to lean toward God? Or are we going to lean toward healthy ways to cope? Or are we going to lean toward what the world says we should do? Drink our problems away, or, and so I love this. He also has one about aging gracefully, resilience and aging, I think. So both of these I am going to check out.
Yeah, I love, my mom always tells me getting old ain't for wimps, baby girl.
Us too.
Yeah, getting old ain't for wimps, and so true. Well, and friends, I just want to tell you, if you are listening to this program and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to share this with someone, you can go to our archives at lovetalknetwork.com. You can get it there. You can go to our YouTube channel. All of our radio programs that air every Saturday and Sunday are then dropped to YouTube. And if you're a podcast person, you can go to LoveTalk, all one word, LoveTalk Network, and get our podcast. Listen to us when you're in the gym, and you can share us with your friends in any of these ways. We just want to be out there for you, providing this information of how to live better, how to have wisdom in our lives for those things that are challenging us, that are hurting us, or maybe hurting a family member, and we just don't know what to do. We don't know what steps to take, or who to call, or where to turn. Or maybe we're in the midst of raising kiddos and we feel just completely overwhelmed and we want to raise healthy kids. So many ways I think this program and the information information shared on this program is just so beneficial to our listeners. We just love you so much, and thank you for sharing us with your friends. If you are wanting notes from today's program, you can email us at letstalk@lovetalknetwork.com. Let's talk at lovetalknetwork.com, and we are happy to send you these websites, send you our key verse from today. And if you want to get in touch with Major General Dees, there will be a link to there as well, to that website, that you can go and fill out a form to contact him. So, Coach Kerri, I also want to say thank you, since I am sharing. Thank you to Casa Mechanical, who has sponsored Love Talk, today's program. We have all of our sponsors that do keep Love Talk on the air, but today's program sponsor is Casa Mechanical. And they say if your drains are not draining, if your air conditioning isn't cooling, and if your heating isn't heating, you can call Casa Mechanical at casamechanical.com. You can reach out to them and they can help you with that. They have been a sponsor of Love Talk Network for decades, and we so appreciate them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Cathy, as we wrap up our program on with being thankful for our veterans, I do want us to realize that in our current political climate, we are very divided.
Yes.
And it does matter to our veterans. Our country is the greatest nation on the planet. And lived anywhere else, if you have experienced anything in other countries, if you've been to Africa, you see what poverty is. If you've been to certain parts of India, you see what poverty is. And we have every opportunity in this country to do whatever we want. And it's so sobering to me when I listen to General Dees. One of the very first things that he said to us today, Cathy, was this: if you dig down real deep, will you come up empty? Gosh.
Yeah.
What are we filling our soul with? Is our soul filled with the goodness and the graciousness and the loving kindness of Jesus Christ? Is our soul feeling empty? Is it not filled with anything that can stick? Is it just filled with things that are just going to drain out of us because they're empty and they're superficial? If you dig down real deep, will you come up empty? I pray that if I dig down real deep, I never come up empty. That was a profound statement, and it was one of the first things that he said.
And I love that Jesus says that he is the water of life, and that if we once we kind of partake of his living water, that we will never be empty again. And so, friends, this is a faith-based program. Major General Dees is he's very open about that, and he has seen transformation again and again and again in the men who come and press in and press deep. And where they'd previously come up empty, now they come up with life, and life in abundance. And if you are looking for that life in abundance and you are coming up empty and you are feeling alone and isolated, God says that you are never alone. I am always with you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And if you're wanting to learn about this relationship with Jesus Christ, it is as simple as ABC. You admit that you are a sinner, that you cannot save yourself, and you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. He is who he says he is, that he died on the cross for your sins to pay the death penalty of those sins, and that on that third day he rose again to life. And then you just confess your belief in him, and you go and share him with someone else. You go and tell someone that you reached out to him, that you prayed that prayer of confession, and that you now stand firm in the love and grace of Jesus Christ. It is a life transforming relationship, friends, and we just pray that you will press into that today.
As General Dees said, in his 9-month residential program, they offer 3 sections: resilience, a reboot, and then jobs for life. And you graduate from each section. But he said, honestly, the secret sauce is Jesus.
Yeah.
It's what holds it all together. That Jesus is the key to moving forward in a life that is fulfilling, and that gives purpose.
Coach Kerri, I love that you mentioned jobs. He did talk about the dignity of jobs. There is a dignity of work. There is something about work that feeds our souls. And I think that's one of the reasons our nation is getting into trouble right now, is that individuals aren't working. They are treating government as God and just looking for government provision. And friends, I would say get up and go and press in and do the hard things. Find that job that God has for you, that work that he has for you, and go and step out and step into it. Don't live life as someone just handing you something. Go out there and make a difference and do something big with your life, because your life is meant to be a big, big life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Friends, we love you. We are missing our co-host, Marlene McMichael today. She's out, but she'll be back with us next week. We hope that you have an amazing Veterans Day. Honor our veterans. Tell someone that you love them today. Thank you, veterans, for what you do,
Yes.
what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will continue to do for our nation. For Cathy Endebrock, I am Coach Kerri Brinkoeter, and we will see you next time right here on LoveTalk Network.